Are you ready? Are you ready?
Frequency, frequency, frequency. I'm Liane. I'm Liane. Are you ready to ride the frequency? Are you ready to ride the frequency?
I am ready to ride the frequency. What about you, Lady Liane? Good afternoon.
I think I'm riding the frequency, whether I'm awake or asleep. It's like, or in my body or in a past life. It's just a frequency that we're always riding forever.
Yeah, right.
Forever.
Yeah, isn't that the truth? So how was your weekend?
Very disturbing. I'm not personally. I mean, maybe I guess some people would describe me as a disturbed woman, but personally, I'm not disturbed, but the events that are going on in the world are mildly perturbing. Yeah.
Right.
Just a little bit. And it's really hard to watch. And a lot of people, like my friend, oh God, with the name, no, his name is Gregory. Doesn't matter what he does or where I know him from where I know him. But when his house burned down, people in their discomfort and horror, just really, including me, can say the stupidest things. And you don't mean to, but you do. So, don't ask people, are you okay? Or how do you feel about shh. The best thing to do is to go over and sit silently and drink a cup of coffee and don't talk at all.
Right.
Right?
Totally agree.
Just hold space, shut up. If you feel uncomfortable, then you probably shouldn't have anything come out your pie hole. Except I love you.
What started it all?
It's so the conjecture. And at this point, I feel like as much as everybody wants to know what started it, containing it is the focus. There'll be time to find out who did it and what's up. Like right now, let's just get it contained, and my not very nice thing to say, it's not political. I mean, you can say whatever you want about funding or whatever, and you voted, and then we're taking sides and separating again. How about, as much as we have cells in our physical body, everything that is got a heart beating and lives on this planet is a cell of the planet. And so the arrogance of some cells thinking they can control nature, they have their views and their nice weather and whatever it is that, I want this and I want that. Well, who is I? Who is I, and why do you want that? Are you ever asking yourself that question? So instead of living on the earth, maybe we could live with the earth.
Right.
How's that for an idea? And maybe as beautiful as Coastline is, and you really want to have your big $8 million house or your little a mobile home and live on Snap. It has nothing to do with your socioeconomic. It just has to do with the arrogance of people thinking that they can just keep puffing up their egos with all their little toys. Come on, really? It's not about that. It's about, I'm the awareness. I am the awareness. You are the awareness. We are all the awareness. Before we want nice houses and cars and then even up to and including, I want to be comfortable. Who is I? Does anybody ask them that question? My beautiful Randall. I was on the phone with him earlier. I was like, who is I? I want this and I want that and I think this and I think that. Who? Is that the awareness saying that? Or is that some disgruntled personality with a bunch of belief systems that are stuck in there going between your ears, making
Right.
crazy come out your mouth? Like, I am also, guilty of the same. Like, who isn't? The way we've all been programmed. It's not necessarily our fault that we are like this. However, bringing attention to the fact that we're like this and maybe opening up long enough to think maybe there's a different way of thinking, which would then cause a different way of behaving.
Right.
Cause and effect. I don't know. It's beyond who lit the fire and, Marxist Mary and Newsom's a jackass and how dare you, and like the rhetoric and the ego and the arrogance needs to really get toned down. So that's what I think.
Just horrible.
In the meantime, my daughter will be here tomorrow for 6 days. She'll be able to,
Awesome.
she'll be able to breathe the clean New York air, which is really not that great either. However, it's not littered with ash. So she'll get a little break, and I'll be very grateful to see her because I haven't seen her since my birthday, 2023. So it'll be good.
Wow.
Yeah, it's a long time to see your baby girl. Yeah. So.
Unbelievable.
How was your weekend? Was you okay?
Yeah, doing great. Cold still.
Yes,
But doing good.
Power though. I mean, I was just saying that before. It's like, why isn't anybody mainstream news? Hi, there's no power over here. People are freezing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we invested into aura photography.
Ooh, Curlian photography.
Aura.
Is there a difference?
Yeah,
Clearly,
so
there must be.
Aura, you can put, we can see your aura around your picture when we take your picture. And it gives us all these reports about your chakras in your body. And we do live reports. We also do pets too.
Photo shoot at Grizzlies.
Yeah. So now we're traveling across the country to events and shops, booking events now. So
well, that's good because now you're actually a vendor. I would love you to show up at Chiller. Why don't you see about coming up to New Jersey to Chiller in April? If you do that, then I'll get a table.
Yeah, we're already booked in April. We'll have to figure out what days.
I don't know. We'll talk about that later. Right now, you know what? Because our time is I won't say LTD, our linear YouTube compartment clock tick time. What is So here we go. I'm gonna try to read a bio again.
Shut the front door.
Oh, no. But this time it's not on my thing. It's not here, and I'm not gonna squint. We're gonna try to do this, and it might even look like my eyes are open this whole time. It'll be great. So our guest today, third time's a charm, writer, director, producer Clive Christopher. I'm so excited. Is an emerging expert in the field of ufology. He is born in South Philadelphia and raised in Arizona. Clive experienced the infamous Phoenix Lights event, which sparked his interest in ufology. A student of history with over 20 years researching the UFO-UAP phenomenon, Clive has been making documentaries. They're really good. I really have to interrupt that. They're really good. Since 2019. After leaving Fox Networks as a project manager, where among other achievements, his exemplary work included educating viewers on how to properly photograph a solar eclipse. With the release of his debut film in 2022, Aliens Uncovered, E.T. or Man-Made, so good, Clive gained worldwide recognition for categorizing aerial vehicles, and that could be otherworldly. Clive has recently worked with contemporaries such as George Knapp, Tom King on the Netflix series. Come on.
What do you mean?
Investigation Alien, and continues to make his mark in ufology with the continued, I can't read that. Oh, wait, no, push the ellipsis, Liane. I'm such a bio read fail. With the continued releases of his Aliens Uncovered series. And a lovely person named Elizabeth Compton wrote that for me to mangle. Okay, strike 2 on bios. But since it's not about me, please welcome Clive Christopher to the show. Clive, please, so I can stop talking. It's your turn. Help! Help! I've been abducted and I can't read.
Oh my goodness, my stomach.
It's either coughing or laughing. It's all good for the
Oh
muscle.
my goodness,
Yeah,
I
I
have
was
a
down
sick
there laughing the whole time. I'm like, what the heck?
Oh,
It's the
you did
Liane
good.
Curtis Comedy Hour freak show, Freakwency show.
Ah,
Oh man, that was awesome. You did it though. You got through it. You did it.
Barely until I hit the ellipsis and started panicking. Did you see that? Or didn't know to push the ellipsis for like, and then I was like, oh no, 3 dots, push the button. Push
Oh
the
my
button,
goodness, that's
there's
so
the end of the
awesome.
sentence. It's like magic. You push the 3 dots and the end of the sentence shows up. It's like old people fishing for change at the cash register. I've turned into that guy, but this is how it's getting squeezed out.
Oh man, that was good. I was sitting over here laughing. I'm glad you waited to bring me in because I was just really dying over here. But no, you did good. That was awesome.
Thanks. Maybe I'll get another chance sometime with another victim. I mean, guest. Oh my God. Well, Clive, dude, Phoenix
What's
Lights.
up? What's up?
Well, first of all, how are you? Are you?
I'm doing good. I'm doing
Yeah?
well. You know, we had freezing temperatures here in Phoenix, Arizona. That's a shock.
Normal.
Yeah, right. I'm like, we woke up this morning. It was like 32, 31 degrees in the city. So
that's speedo weather.
Man, it's different. I don't even
That's
understand
speedo weather in Alaska.
Yeah.
It is.
But everything is good, man. Everything is good. Thank you for asking. How's everybody doing?
I think
Great.
I'm okay. Therefore, I must be.
That's good. That's good.
Right.
I'm glad to hear that.
It's kind of smart ass. All right. So Phoenix Lights. Do you want to start with that? Or how do we want to start this?
Phoenix Lights. I mean, that was the the start to the journey, with what I'm doing now. I didn't really know it was going to turn into, all of this, in 2025, but
Surprise!
Yeah, right.
Right. And now that
was,
pesky Netflix producer keeps trying to interrupt my show. That's why he couldn't show up last time. The suit called and was like, I need to have a meeting. And then they tried to do it again today. And he was like, listen, you know what? It's Lily's turn.
That's funny how that works out, right? And I mean, I was sitting here at 3:00 and I'm like, didn't put my phone on silent. Boom, I look over, distributor. I'm like, oh no. Hey man, I'm on the phone with Liane Curtis right now. Let me call you back in about an hour or two. He was excited though. So but yeah, I was like, yeah, dude, like what is it? What is it about getting phone calls at 3:00, right before I'm supposed to come on the show?
Right. It's time to call my husband and be like, what happens every time I call you? And he'll say, you're a Manny magnet. What's a Manny magnet? Well, literally for the past, I don't know, good decade, every time I call my husband, his boss calls and needs something.
Wow.
But I think that's something he's attracting. It really has nothing to do with me or his boss. It's his something.
Isn't it interesting how things work out? I mean, it has to be something there, some sort of connection, you know what I mean? But it's just interesting that how it all works out like that,
See, this is how we make paranormal normal. When shit like that happens all the time, like how is that paranormal? That's
normal.
It's the way
that is normal, you know what I mean? And it just, like I said, it has to be something with like, frequency. I mean, riding the frequency, right? I mean,
right.
That's definitely riding the frequency, but it has to do with something that, we might poke at, have a little fun about. We're trying to understand, but there is something really there, and it's measurable in certain situations like this, So yeah.
Well,
absolutely.
Thoughts are things, right? And if they start, look, when I did that Joe Dispenza meditation, and I was working my breath, and I was pulling it up from my hoo-ha and pushing it up to the top of my head, and just like doing that thing, and literally physiologically, the cilia on your pineal gland start vibrating, and when that starts happening, it's like a whole show is about to start up in there, because if you can get it to actually squirt the DMT, which I did inadvertently, you see shit. You see stuff. Like I saw stuff and I thought, what the hell just happened to me? And I don't know if it was like a nanosecond or if it was 30 seconds, if it was I don't know anything. All I know is I came out of it going, wow, whoa, wow, 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 wow. Ah, my cousin Liane, she hold her breath and she sees stuff.
And sometimes
Which probably, yeah.
No, I was just gonna say like experiences. So like when it comes to like experiences like the Phoenix Lights, I don't remember really like too many things happening prior to that. But after the Phoenix Lights, I mean, so many, UFO, UAP, paranormal. I think it's all the same thing, but I think we have some sort of experience that happens, and then we continue. I don't know if we're tuned into it or what, but we just continue to see it, and then it happens, and different things happen, and like you said,
well,
every time
like
you get on the phone, it's there.
In physicality, like dominoes. I'll go back to this parallel, right? So you push something and then it makes a bunch of stuff happen. So every time you have a thought, it sets something in motion, right? And then every time, so you're thinking, as soon as she calls, that's going to happen. Then those lights light up and it's like, okay, he wants it. And it's very neutral. And sometimes it's an immediate response. And sometimes because we want things and the ego gets involved with and it's not just the awareness dealing with source directly. And then our thoughts we're like Gladys Kravitz, man. We're just such busybodies. We got to get in there and like have it happen a certain way and, control it all. Like, no, it's not. Just like, so when you let go of all that, shit starts clicking. It just does.
I agree with you 100%. There's a connection there. If we would be able to get the truth, maybe we figure it out ourselves. I don't know, but there's definitely a connection there that between all of us as human beings that, we put enough to it. We'll get the answers. That's.
I think so, but I think people have to legit get on board with there is a truth to find out and not just keep being lazy. I think there's a lazy thing. I think, as long as Clive and Liane are doing it, they'll find out. And then eventually we'll know because they'll tell us. It's like, no, why are we pulling the whole thing? Or why? It's not, I'm not saying, I'm just using that as an example. I don't think I'm pulling the whole weight at all by any means. But like if everybody threw down, by just taking a little bit of time and getting quiet and just practicing being the awareness before you're your personality in everything you do. And I know that's a big ask, but I think if people could actually do that, the truth would come out. It would have to. I think that's like the like spiritual pressure of just being and doing nothing but expecting. There's something there that way, and I think people have yet to find the vocabulary to instruct others in a way that is so clear that everybody goes, oh, I get it. Like as soon as everybody has that aha moment, somebody's going to show up and say something a certain way, whether it's right. And then you can't unhear it. And then you can't stop thinking the thoughts that's then the thought dominoes. It's thought dominoes.
I totally agree. This is why I really, respect Stephen Greer and what he's doing. He had I've attended one of his C5 experiments in 2021 in September. And I met so many people from around the world. It was a beautiful event. It was in the desert, sacred desert here in Arizona. It was just a wonderful event. But, pretty much what he is doing is, exactly what you're preaching, exactly what, I try to do with my events is just get people together. Make sure you come out there, and it's hard to try to come out there with a clear mind and let all of the worries and stress and everything that you're going through throughout your normal, work day and week. But if you can come out there and just kind of let everything go and, just try to become one with the group and Sometimes you'll see something, sometimes you won't, but you will definitely learn something and you will have some sort of experience. That's one thing that I can like honestly say, just doing this in Phoenix, Arizona, people walk away with just meeting people and having somebody to talk to. That's just huge nowadays. People just sometimes want people to talk to. You know, it's not necessarily about coming out there and seeing a UFO or some alien or something like that, but you're going to learn stuff. You're going to meet people. You're going to walk away different from when you actually got there. So I totally agree with you.
Right. Right. Like, and that's the trick, being able to put, I'm Liane, I'm an actress, I've got 3 kids. My oldest works at SAG-AFTRA. Like the stories, let's look at that, and never ending. That's enough. Just, can you put that away just for a second? You can go back to it. Nobody's telling you it's permanent. Nothing's permanent. So just drop the shtick for 2 seconds. Just long enough. Just long enough. You know? It's okay. People need to give themselves permission to literally give up the personality and all of what society tells you you're supposed to want and hate, and just give it up just for like 30 seconds, then extend it to a minute. And then, you know, so much exists in the no thing. And if people can just get to that quiet place once a day, bookend your day. Do it with somebody. Do nothing with someone. There's a hang. You want to come over and do nothing and be no one with me?
You got a point. You might be onto something. You might seriously be onto something. And you know, do you have like focus groups outside of your show? Do you have like groups where you get together with people? Do you keep in contact? You know, we keep in contact and share ideas and stuff like that, but this is one thing that I do, especially with, you know, being a filmmaker. The people reach out, they're actually talking to me. You can, you know, attest to that. But, you know, do you do something like that to where you have people where you're, you know, collectively having these groups, collecting data, sharing stories and things like that?
Well, we don't do the collecting data thing very well, but I guess I could reach up and show you. I've got a whole book, and it was, you know, for the past 3 years, I went on a Portal to Ascension was one of the websites I frequented a lot. And the guy who started that, Neil Gore, lovely fella. And that just keeps growing and growing and growing. You can access all kinds of information on there. But Alan Steinfeld, who's another guy who's been at this forever, forget about it, forever, from New York. And he decided he was going to do through Portal to Ascension, like a 3, or maybe it was 4, 6, I don't remember how many weeks. He was going to do a remote viewing class. So I was taking care of my mom at the time, and I figured, okay, what the hell, remote viewing, I'm interested. See what I can see. Ha ha ha, right? But, you know, I thought I was going to be crappy at it. Not so much, you know, and we didn't, you know, work 4 weeks on one target because we're not CIA, we're not psychic spies, we're not doing that. We're just casually checking out what is remote viewing. Okay, like it's real. And I actually sat through, and I'm still not done. Oh my God, it's a 6-hour interview. The McMonagle interview with Sean Ryan, is it? Okay. Joe McMonagle. Oh my God. But he said a bunch of stuff that made sense to me. So yes, the answer is yes, I do. I meet twice a week with the core 4 of us who still continue talking to each other after 2 courses. And so like 2020 that started. So yeah, so for the past 4 years, I've been meeting twice a week with my community about that stuff.
Nice. That's awesome. And you know, like experiences and things like that when it comes to, and you know, I'm new here, right? But what would be like your most profound experience that you may or may not have talked about?
Probably having the feeling that, like, this lady on Facebook, Lala Bright, kept showing these orbs, and I thought, why do I feel like I have them too? Like I just had a feeling. So I bought a really cheap nanny cam and I plugged it in, and now I've got hundreds of orb documentations from my apartment. And they respond to me when I talk to them.
Okay.
It's like
Okay.
it's my other community that I don't like. Why the girl from 16 Candles talks to orbs? Like that's good for business. Right? You know, but maybe if you and I do a doc and I'm in my own thing, maybe SAG won't come fire me for hiring myself or something. Like I don't know. There's got to be a way to do this.
Well, look, one thing that I have learned in present, right? And we'll even look at last year in specific, but the one thing that the world wants and is craving is authenticity. And
Well,
you know, if you are authentic, and this is what
I
because
am. And I'm
orbs,
not afraid to be vulnerable, and I'm not afraid to
exactly.
get naked, and I'm not afraid. It's all a big so what? Like I'm down, like whatever, as long as it doesn't kill anybody or me, I'm good, you
We
know?
are we're at a point in our life where you know what we have has experienced, and it doesn't have to be always UFOs and trying to
No.
see something in little green men. There is so much more. You know, if we look at those little pieces, we'll miss the big picture, right?
Well,
And
right. Well, like again, I said this last week. How come we don't talk about how iguanodons decided to start walking on 2 feet and got opposable thumbs, and then maybe when all that happened, they went down? And why is everybody evolved from a monkey? How come some of us maybe are evolved from lizards? How do you know? What's junk DNA? They
wow,
know what the
wow,
and my nasty comment today, which is not helpful. I know it. I wasn't being helpful. I'm being a poo-poo starter again. But like if you look on Google, you can look at Operation Popeye. It was
oh,
a thing.
okay,
They
okay,
used it in Vietnam. They put aluminum and iron oxide in seeded clouds with that to extend the rain longer, the monsoon season. And I think I even saw a comment about how when large crowds gathered, if they could make it rain to disperse them without using deadly force. So you tell me, does our government just drop things like that? Or 50 years later, do you think they've streamlined, perfected, and accelerated that? Then you look at the hurricanes that are happening, and then now I'm a conspiracy theorist.
well, the conspiracy theorist has been right almost 90% of the time since 2020,
I know what I'm looking at. And if
right?
nobody wants to hear it because that the impact of that means you're going to feel stupid, that's your problem. Who's I? Again, I'm back to I feel stupid about I. Drop it. What's the awareness telling you? What is going on? The awareness knows it's neutral, it sees everything. It's in everybody. It is everybody. It is there before everybody becomes everybody. It's the idea. Where do things come from? Ideas, the awareness. How open are you to your awareness? How plugged in are you to your personality? There's the range between who's psychic and who's not, is probably based in that ability to be, to the degree you become aware of, is the degree to which you are psychic.
Mm-hmm.
To the degree which you are able to accept. It's just, come on, guys, help me here.
and I want to introduce you to a buddy of mine named Chris. He's actually in my newest documentary, Land of Legends.
Another one, Curtis. We should get married, and our name would be Curtis.
he
Curtis heads.
there's something with him. No, you're okay. There's something with him, his energy, and you can just, when you're next to him, you just sense it. And when he's around, all kinds of stuff happens, where it's lights on the mountains and ghostly. I don't know, but I actually have it on camera, and he's somebody I definitely am going to introduce you to. And
well, good, because I think if you put us both in a room together, it might be very exciting, like without us even doing or saying anything.
Yeah. So
why do I feel that like already off of this?
He has a video of an orb on the mountain. It's on the mountain outside in his backyard. And the thing is you can see him moving his phone and trying to record, but it is perfectly still. And it's almost like the camera, it stabilized itself in the footage so he wouldn't lose it. It is the most wildest thing I've ever seen. And it's no less than 75, maybe 50 yards away from, I'd say 75 at the max. But it's right there in the wash in his backyard. And it's like a blue, whitish color. And it almost, like I said, it looks like it is just engaged with his camera, and it totally locked into and took control of his camera almost.
Well, and I have a friend, but like I have a friend in New Zealand, and I don't want to out her. I think I sort of did a little bit, but she takes photographs of orbs, but she is not down with the vibe in whatever orbs. And you expand it, and you can see like a little figure in there when you expand hers. And she's like, but she's also had traumatic experiences with other frequencies interrupting and conflating themselves with our 3D, you know. Like I'm very, very reticent to call bullshit on anybody's experience, because there are no words to explain things that are not, quote, of this earth, in the sense that it's not a daily societal occurrence, right? So if there's no vocabulary that we use that could possibly explain something, and you try really hard to do that, but there are no words. There are no words for the color tunnel I was shot through. That's the best I can do. Being shot through the most vibrant tunnel of like colors, like bright, like it was like going through her hair, but it was multicolored, and it was like being in a water park, just and these colors are going, and I'm like, but it's not my eyes seeing that. I was just, you know, and I think I've said this live before, I happen to be friends with Gary Busey, and as odd as he seems to people, he's so plugged in when it comes to this stuff. When I told him that happened to me, he said, because you were seeing your real self. That was you. You were showing yourself. And I'm going, yeah, sounds about right. Like everybody's so quick to, because, you know, I think people who are really plugged in to the knowing, who maybe didn't forget everything, or who oscillate at a higher frequency, like a faster frequency, let's say faster, not higher, because higher sort of infers better arrived, like, and then you down there, it's not that. It's the faster you oscillate, the more you think. It may not be like ADD, ADHD. Maybe it's a higher oscillation rate. I would love to know if anybody's done research on people who are labeled ADHD and what the psychic scale with that group is.
Have you looked into
autistic people are a lot very psychic.
Oh my God, there's a CIA project that happened in the 80s.
Not Stargate, was it? Like,
oh my God, where they were working with the kids and the computers. I got to find this. I didn't even think we would talk about this, but there was a bunch of people out there right now. I want to say it was like Project Gateway or something like that, where they were doing all of these testing during the 70s and 80s, where
it's Stargate. I think you're talking about Stargate, and I think it's a Bob Monroe generated thing. And here's the thing. I've been trying to talk to some people from Monroe Institute. I've always been fascinated.
Yes, Monroe Institute. Is that what it is?
Yeah, but see, my mom was friends with Bob Monroe's Star, the radio show, The Shadow, Brett Morrison. They used to come to dinner all the time. Like I was friends with The Shadow, and his producers Bob Monroe. And I know my mom had me taking IQ tests when I was a little tiny bit of a thing because I was speaking fluent French and fluent English at a rate that was higher than my age. Right. I was hot on the curve. So she's testing me. And I remember being in rooms being asked, what does this splotch look like to you? I remember this stuff. And then I go blank. I don't remember anything after that. I remember French school. I remember feeling super traumatized. And then I remember changing to the Rudolf Steiner school, which was completely different. But like I blocked a lot of that time out. Like, and you could say, oh, your dad died and that's why you were trauma. And then my mom liked to blame that for everything. Oh, it's because her dad died. Like, what? Okay, whatever, lady. But yeah, like I wonder, she said, stuttering, where I could trace the IQ tests. How high did I score? Because she knew Brett. Did Brett say, oh, my friend Bob's doing these tests with smart kids? Like, who knows what happened at the dinner table to get me into a situation that I don't remember?
There's we're seeing the release of classified, the declassified information. And there's a lot of people from our generation who pretty much explain the same thing you did. And one thing that I talk about, I don't talk about it in film much, but I talk about, connection, but also chosen ones. And there could have been, and maybe chosen isn't the correct word, but
right, because that makes you special and the other ones aren't. But it's
right. But
a certain frequency. People. It's frequency related. I guarantee you, it's frequency related.
Yeah.
Like, why does Mike Herrera talk about the P3s? Like the trafficking, and they're trafficking psychic kids and making them, who are maybe autistic too, making them, like, goes to Dr. Greer. The communication is through consciousness. And then that goes back. I've been saying that consciousness is the currency. Consciousness is they want to crack consciousness. It's all about consciousness. And what's the end game? It's about consciousness. And I sound like I'm getting whooped up, but like where I get whooped up isn't about what they're doing. It's about nobody's listening to me. I keep saying, and it doesn't make me right. It's just, why aren't anybody listening? I don't get it. And then they go and complain about this is wrong and that's wrong. But like, what's wrong is what they're doing to people through frequencies and thought. And everybody thinks that's such a wild idea. It's not. Coors beer in Scientific American, in dream time, they get in your dreams. Like, I sound like a raving lunatic.
No,
20 years ago, they would have locked me up and put me on drugs for saying this shit. Now I just get censored on YouTube. It's better than getting drugs. I choose my own drugs. Sorry. Right?
The documents that are on the CIA website, I think we need to really focus on astral projection. I think that with astral projection, and this is opinion based. This is my opinion based off of an interview that I did with somebody, and I kind of talked about it briefly in your last time I was on the show. But this person was having a reoccurring dream over and over and over again. It involved a wooden fence, a grassy knoll. He walks up to the house. He goes in the house, walks around the house. He eventually comes to the people in the home, and then he disappears. And he would have this dream over and over and over again. Well, one day he gets older, takes a vacation to, I believe it was Ireland or somewhere out in Europe. And he comes across, he's on a cab and comes across this knoll. He starts to freak out. He gets out of the cab, he runs up, sees the fence, walks down the fence. There's the house, goes into the house, walks around the house, eventually sees the people. They look at him and don't say anything. It isn't until he speaks, they start to freak out. He starts to freak out. I've been coming here. What is going on? They're like, we thought you were a ghost. We didn't say anything or try to do anything or move because you just walk around the place and then you disappear.
I should ask. I have vivid dreams all the time, recurring, that I'm in. Oh, yeah. But wait, I'm in my country house. Like, and I'm always amazed there's nobody there. There's never anybody there. And I always feel like I'm going to get busted any second. But she never shows up, the new owner, and I'm always in there and I get to hang out. And now I'm wondering whether I'm not haunting that place.
You might be.
Like, I should ask her. I talked to the lady. I know who she is. I could call her and ask, has there been any like weird, like, because I've had so many vivid dreams about running around this apartment.
One thing I've learned about, because I do it a lot, and one thing that I've learned is there's certain things that differentiate whether am I really dreaming or if I'm actually there. And like there was one time I'll share, I don't dream about exes at all, right? So one time I have this dream about my high school sweetheart, and she's in a dark room, she's crying, but when I knew it was weird is I could feel the humidity, I could feel the heat coming from her tears. I'm like, that's weird. The next night, I dream about my daughter's mom. We're standing in a room, she's sweeping, and she's sweeping up like dust and debris, but there's penny and change all in this dust and debris, and I always pick up pennies, so I'm picking up the pennies. So I wake up, and what made me think that this wasn't a dream is as I'm picking up the pennies, I can feel the dust on my fingers, and I'm like, wait a second. So I call her. This is my daughter's mom. I call her, and she's like, I ask, I say, hey, quick question. Is everything okay? I had this dream where we were standing in a room, and we were sweeping, and I'm picking up the change off of the floor. And she goes, that's really weird because I just had to pay for my AC out of pocket. And keep in mind, we don't talk. We don't get along. We don't get along at all. So this is a conversation we haven't had, even being on the phone in a while. And she's like, that's really weird because I just had my AC go out. I had to pay for it myself. And when I called her, she was actually cleaning up the mess that the people left behind from fixing her AC. So there has to be something there.
There's a correlation. You guys are entangled. There's an entanglement going on. This is all quantum stuff.
Exactly. And not only that, I think astral projection, not only when it comes to remote viewing, I think we can establish certain points in time. I've read this on another CIA document that man has figured out that the past, present, and future is all connected, and they learn this through women's intuition.
Look at this. Yeah, there's that women's intuition. But see, that's the, if you look at the history and the I guess the short version in 2025 speak is they took the sacred feminine and the sacred masculine, and they ripped them apart, stuffed the feminine in a box, and then the patriarchy's been running the planet since.
I have to agree with you 100%. There's this war on women and the feminine energy. When you look at all the characters that are feminine,
right? It's not even women's lib. It's about the energy. See, and then here again, society's turned into a physical thing. Women are. It's not about physical women, and although we bear the brunt and all of that, but it's about the intuition, all of the things that science doesn't like to talk about, that they dismiss. It's like, I'm so tired of being dismissed. Like in my personal circle of people who they listen to my words, but they can't hear me. And, I keep getting the message. They'll hear it when they're ready. They'll wake up when they're ready. I know that. And yet I keep going back, and it's my problem, I guess.
That's something that I study. I don't really talk about much, but the feminine energy, it has been demonized over time. I mean, go on and on and on.
The women's lib is because our energy, it's our intuition and our nurturing and all these things that you can't see because it's not a piece nurturing. It's not a piece of paper. Intuition. Where do you see that? If you could say, hi, this is a purple intuition. It's a mouse. Like, click it.
One thing I can honestly say about my career is once I got everything, with the women in my life, I got multiple kids, you know what I'm saying? With different women.
Thank you, Pam.
And when I got everything on the right page, right frequency with them, I began to elevate as a man. You know what I'm saying? And I can honestly
Yeah.
look back at that. But women are amazing creatures. Their energy is fucking awesome. Excuse my language.
Let me ask you a question though. Did you have to give yourself permission to do that? Like, because you were trained not to as a man in society, and women and this and women are that and women it's like, and did you have to learn how to do that?
Great question. Yeah, I went through what I call a reality check. As a teenager, 20s, I was a vain man. You know, I was told I looked like Tupac since I was 13. So you can only imagine how that worked out for me with, you know, so with women. But, you know, I was a vain man, and I had to go through a maturation process, you know, really mature mentally, spiritually cleanse. And I began to, you know, kind of really see and really observe, because one thing that I've noticed, right, is when women get together and they hang out together, their period cycle links up. Like, these are things that we can actually observe, right?
No, this is facts, because I can tell you for sure, because I was done my period to the point, and here's the TMI, boys, too bad, plug your ears. I was spotting like every month, and then it stopped. And then our daughter decided, Mom, Dad, can I move back in with you for just temporary? I'm like, oh yeah, sure, whatever. What the fuck do you think started happening?
Periods linked up.
Get out. I started bleeding again. Get out. Get out. You disrupted my menopause. Go away. She like activated me again. It was messed up. But it was, I mean, there was a lot of comedy in that. Like, I wasn't really angry, and I didn't really want to kick her out, but it was the joke. I was like, are you kidding me right now? Like, you did this. I said to her.
There are certain things that we can go back. Like, the one thing I like to look at is the Salem witch trials. And I really ask this question, and I want you to really think about it. How powerful were these women?
That they were so terrified that they had to kill them. Yeah.
Not only kill them, they beat them, they staked them, probably raped them, did all these things, and then burned them at the same. How powerful were these women in groups to make man that scared? How powerful were? I mean, realistically, right? Like, when you look at it, Grizz, you know, the history of man, you club them over the head, whatever, it's all good, right? Like, why couldn't they do that to the Salem witch trial, right? What were these women doing in abundance to where men were, to the point, like I said, to where they had to tie them up and burn them? I don't know if that's historically accurate. I believe it is. But to that point to where it's like, wow.
They probably did worse things that we don't know about. And it was just reduced. So we just tied them up and burned them. But like, what else did you do?
Oh, I can only imagine what was going on, you know, in that time. I mean,
let's not say we did.
And you know, I look at certain things like that. You know, the feminine Medusa demonized, Eve from Adam and Eve was demonized, yet when she ate the fruit, nothing happened. Everything remained the same. God didn't give Eve the command. God gave Adam the command. I'll get out of a church and walk out of a church. If I'm in a church and I hear a preacher start at Adam and Eve, I'm like, oh, here we go. And then he starts blaming them. I get up and leave, because it's just not factual information. But every single woman, even down to Lilith, every woman in history, the sirens, I can go on and on. They've been demonized, especially like that really strong feminine energy.
Well, you know, and I wonder if there's anything to feminine energy and what happened to it locked in any of the books that never made it into. It's like, if you want to talk movie talk, the cutting room floor of the Bible locked up in the Vatican. What's in there about feminine energy, I wonder? Ooh. And all kinds of other things.
You got a point. You got a point. I mean, it's you know, man's ancient past is the map of all maps, and you know, some of the information that could have been hidden in the Vatican or other places. You know,
a jar, in a hole, in a thing that two shepherds find because they were throwing rocks.
Right. Somebody said,
and something went clink. Oh, that's the wrong. That was the wrong frequency. Oh, yeah, somebody gets dragged by the hair and raped in a cave, and then, oh wait, look, what's in that jug? I don't know. Oh, look, a scroll.
Yeah, it that's a topic that, you know, I really do. And like I said, there's just certain things that I can look back in my life and they're measurable. You know what I mean? And now women I have kids with, everything is good. We talk, laugh, joke, everything is fine. And you know, once that really happened, I can look back and I'm like, holy shit, wait a second. That is, yeah, wow. You know, so there's something there, man. And you know, I don't know where we begin with that, but I do think that feminine energy, I think women, true, you know, XXs, I think they're a part of I think they're a bigger part of the picture than what we're being told.
I'm looking at this comment. She said they were so scared of the Medusa that they froze. Right? It wasn't that she was being mean. It's just because she was scary, and they got so scared that they stopped.
Well, here's a really crazy and cool comparison, right? Because we look at Medusa. Medusa had the eyes. She looked at you, turned to stone. Now, let's flip it over to the Russian soldiers in 1989 when they shot the UFO down. Boom, it crashed. And this is on the CIA website. It crashed. These beings got out of the UFO. It was 25. 23 out of the 25 men, this massive, they merged together. This light happened. 23 out of the 25 men turned into stone. And this is a real story that is on the CIA website, right? Now that we could look back and compare it to a quote unquote mythical character or whatever that would turn men to stone.
Though. Right. So it's probably a non-human intelligence of some kind of culture that happened to look like that because the hair moved, and then their whatever technology they had in their DNA and their self-protection, whatever, caused people to, you know, and if it happened in ancient Greece and then again in Russia in our lifetime, then maybe, you know, if people don't want to look at that. And myths, I don't think they were myths. I really do believe that there were. I mean, if you're going to talk, how come there can be Nephilim, but there can't be Greek gods? Like, I don't get it. It's one or the other? It's not both. It's like the drones. We don't know what they are, but don't be scared because it's nothing. If you don't know who or what, how do you know that? Like, what are you're double speak has been spoken forever.
I'm looking at Kay's comment right there. Kay's talking about Lilith, and Lilith is the biggest character.
Right.
My mom wrote a thing called Scratch, and Lilith is always trying to get him to go upstairs with her because she wants to, you know, like, and he's Lilith just sick of his. Right. Her whole thing is he's sick of his view of the hell of fire is messed up because there's too many writhing souls. So how do we make them stop acting up? Because I don't want any more. No room at the inn. So they go up to Earth to try to make people do good things. The thing got optioned by Lorimar like back in the 80s, like, and it never got greenlit, which is sad because it was really clever. My mom wrote some really good stuff. I still have it here.
The character Lilith, I mean, when you leave the United States and you go to, you know, anywhere in Rome, I've seen statues and paintings of Lilith in Sicily.
It's a big deal.
It's a big deal. She's recognized, you know, Adam and Eve. Well, you know, when you look at the story and you know the story, Adam and Lilith, they were created equally, and Lilith was the first of the design. You know, no matter how we look at it, I am an XY. I have to go through XX to get to XY. I'm a mutation of you. I haven't seen anything or a way around that. You know what I mean? But when you
better be careful. I make nicknames for people. I'm going to start calling you my little mutation now.
I like that. The little mutation. It's true. I mean, there's no matter how you look at it, men are mutations of the feminine. We have to go through the XX before we become XY. There's no way around that. But Lilith is a prime example. And I think that's where the start of it all, where, you know, that masculine dominance over the feminine energy is. You remove Lilith from the picture and you say that Eve came from a rib. Now you got a whole different story that you can really force feed to people. And you know, I do think that once again, you go to any other country, Lilith is recognized all over the place. She's everywhere. She's in the Vatican. She's in the churches. She's in statues everywhere. So what is it about the United States in the King James Version where just disappears? You know what I mean? But
Our
That's
founding fathers.
that's
There's
a
a
whole,
reason.
like I said,
It's not our founding mothers, is it? It's our founding fathers.
this is
What
a
is that
whole
about?
nother conversation that I
It's a
could
whole nother
totally.
show.
It is. It totally is because we've
We
gotten
started
away
with the
from the
Phoenix
real
Lights, and how did we end up with?
with this, right? Like orbs and the Phoenix Lights were orb. I do got a crazy orb story that I don't really share because I like to, when I put something in a documentary, I like to have the evidence or something to back it up to say, hey, look, this experience or this person's experience, and here's that.
Right, because then you can't get called a psycho or a loony or he doesn't know what he's talking about. Then nobody can say that to you.
Exactly. I had an experience. I was in the car with my mom and my brother, and this is probably one of the most profound experiences I've had. I'm sitting in the back seat. The car's very small. I got my leg across the back seat. I'm 6'1", 250 easily, and I'm back seat. He's driving. My mom's passenger seat. I look out my brother's window and I see this crystal, multicolored jelly thing outside of the window. And when it came into the car, time as I knew it changed. It was like frame free, like frames on a camera. I could see the trees like ticking. It was so weird. But this thing came in the car. And when it came into the car, not only did the time change, I was in two places at once. The best
Which
way
can happen. How bifurcation is a thing.
If
I can be aware that I'm lying in my bed and also in my mind be seeing the earth from space, how is that not bifurcating? The awareness knows.
Never experienced anything like that. I was still in the car, but it was like I was being smashed into the roof. And I could see myself looking at this thing, which it was like I said, I could both. It was so weird. But it came into the car and it went past me and then it went to the back window. It was a Chevy Cavalier. So it had those real weird back windows. Mm-hmm. And it went out the back window and I'm watching it. And it went over. So in Phoenix, Arizona, there's the cross section is 32nd Street and Union Hills. And I watched it as I'm watching it leave. It gets bigger and bigger and bigger, and it goes over the cross section. And it at this time, it's probably, I don't know, 15 feet, but it is massive, right? And I noticed my eyes had been so open so long. Now, as it left, that view of myself in the car, that is gone. Now I'm just looking out. But I noticed slow motion, the tears in my eyes. I had kept my eyes open so long that the tears were just, and when I blinked, I could see the water like splash out of my eyes. It was the weirdest thing. But then time and everything came right back. And whatever that massive object was that was over the intersection, it was gone. I couldn't see it anymore. But that was an experience that, I think about to this day. And I like,
how could you not? Like, that's an experience that like nobody would not think about to this day.
Exactly. And you can't really put words to what it was. I've seen multicolored lights in the sky, but up close and personal like that, the two places at one, it was just.
I'd love you to talk to my friend Ed, who lives up in Putnam Valley area.
Okay.
He hasn't come out with his stories because he really would prefer not to get ridiculed or fired. But there are some people who live up in that area who experienced the same thing. Like when the boomerang craft came, a lot of people saw it. Like it was in the 80s, I think.
Okay.
And he tells me the story about when he was out on his porch, he saw a thing, he called his brother, the brother went out, he tried to get in, go see his parents and say, hey, mom, dad, but they were in the chair, like weren't moving. They weren't going anywhere. So he went back out and he saw this thing, like it's silent. It flew over and he just looked at his brother like, whoa, what's that? And ever since, he's somebody who has ideas and works with patents that he also doesn't want to talk about for a good reason. like he's super smart. And then his son, he's got twins, you know, and his son and his daughter are both very special. But the son, for whatever reason, like knew all the platonic solids backwards and forwards by the time he could barely speak, but he's doing that. So he was like the little party trick when he was growing up. Super smart, super sensitive, super pale, super blonde, super tall. The first time his eyes were like aqua, like shocking aqua. First time he came to my door, Ed's like, "This is my son." I was like, "Hi, ha." And I literally stopped talking. I just looked at him, and all I could say was, "Oh my God." And it was awkward because literally I don't usually stop like that, but this kid's got this, no words. I can't really explain it, you know?
I've interviewed people and I've learned, and this is, you know, when you said the kids were special, that's when,
Yes, right.
I've learned that people who have experiences typically have kids that are extremely special. There was a lady by the name of Heather. She actually is the voice in the opener. So she says, "I'm not supposed to talk. I've always known I'm not supposed to talk."
Right.
And I got her to actually talk and agree. No camera, but we'll use some of the audio. She was working. So here in Arizona, it's heavily military influence, especially Phoenix. But she was working at how can I word this? She was working at a location for ex-military veterans and things like that from World War II. And there was this guy who had taken a liking to her, and he was always talking to her, blah, 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 and everything. So one day, he gives her this book, and this book is like his history, pictures, things like that. And then she goes on to tell me that she was at her place of employment, and she sees him. It's like a group event, and it's a place where you go from like room to room to room in different stations. So, and it's all for military veterans, old timers. So she was in the room. She sees the guy. She leaves the room. She's standing there talking to other people. She recognizes the door opens. He comes into the room. He stands there and smiles at her, and she, like a weird look. Then she said he turned around and he was a completely different person. Right here in Arizona. She's also told me about other experiences where she pretty much goes through this abduction. She knows when it's getting ready to happen, and she prepares herself. But this guy was asking about her kid a lot. And she said when it stopped is when she physically gave him that book back. She gave him the book back. All of all the stuff that she was experiencing, everything. He even was gone. And Arizona in specific, like I said, I'm working on that. What exactly?
Vortex is the word that's popping in my head. Vortex. Like, I don't know why.
Vortex, yes. The ley line energy, you know, one of the locations here that's in my documentary, I believe, we show the mountain in the most recent one, Land of Legends. This mountain, we believe it has a trisection of ley lines. And if you're familiar with ley lines, you know, typically ley lines, you know, one ley line, you know, the natives, when we look back at the indigenous people, the natives would travel ley lines. These were like safe ways of passage through the sacred desert. Now, if you get ley lines that intersect, this is typically where you'll see dust devils, you'll see tornadoes. They even say this is why ghosts travel in straight lines, because they're using that energy
back and forth, right? I saw that. I don't know if it was on one of your documentaries, but it was on one of the ghost documentaries that's on the same channel that doesn't stop with the Clive. Yeah. They think that ghosts travel in straight lines back and forth, which is why they.
This is why the native people also. So if you're ever out in the desert, you know, especially the Southwest, and you're hiking a mountain, if you see some pottery or some Native American stuff on a trail, leave it there, because they bury their dead along the ley lines. And this is how they communicate in the afterlife. And then not only that, we still have like the indigenous culture. So, you know, when they say the hills have eyes, like this is what
they mean it.
This is, you know, you don't want to come out here in the desert and just think, you know, they are literally the indigenous groups that are still out here, still in the mountains, and they are eyes
They're
are
watching.
on.
I'm
Yes,
sure.
so don't touch them. But when you get a trisection of ley lines, this is typically where you see the Devil's Triangle, the Bermuda Triangle, the Alaskan Triangle, and you see portals in this, and sometimes even documented in the Superstition Mountains. These portals like to run along the triangle, but there's a movie, they call them moving portals. And in the Superstition Mountains, there's documentation of a plane crash, and they were explaining as they were going down how they were seeing things differently. As you know, you can't miss the Superstition Mountain. It is this massive mountain that's right there in front of you. But the pilot was reporting different things as he was going down and then smacked into the mountain. So at this area in specific, it's a much smaller location, but we have, like I said, that orb video. I think it's a portal. My buddy Chris lives there, and we have a video where, like I said, you see this light in the mountain. I turn the exposure up, and then there's this ghostly thing. I don't know what it is, but it flies past. It looks like it leaves Chris, and then it flies past that area.
It's too bad you don't have that file right now to put up real quick.
You know what?
All right, I'll talk, and maybe you don't. Okay.
I don't. I have it. I just don't see the upload process. It's in the film.
It'll take too long. Okay.
I think it'll take too long because of the size of the film. But next time, what I'll do is I'll grab some snippets of some stuff because this is starting to come out. So I'll grab some snippets specifically for your show. So that way we can go over them and kind of look at them and
that would be cool.
Put our brains together and see, because that's one thing I love to do is I get some footage and I pass it along to 12 to 15 different people before we even put it in the movie.
But you know what I'm going to say right now is like, I'll look at it, but it's not my brain that's working. Like the whole time you were talking, like all kinds of stuff is coming. I'm feeling stuff here. Well, but also like, it's weird here, like in my elbows, the back of my knees, all the erogenous zones, like that's what starts lighting up. And I know we got to probably cut it off here soon, like now. But when you were talking about that, the things I was feeling and the words that were popping were like toroidal fields that are constantly in motion, that sometimes, like when you have an eclipse, that crisscross with each other. And like you said, when they're but I feel like it's just like it's frequency, it's energy, and there's a pull to it. And this is probably why things disappear in the Bermuda Triangle, because there's some kind of, the frequency screws with the gravity, and then the energy of like I want to say Schumann resonance. I sound like a crazy person talking again. I know what I'm saying, but my mouth has gone rogue yet again.
There's no words to really put to it.
Right. Maybe that's why my mouth goes rogue, because it's trying so hard and there's nowhere to go.
Because the one thing about these trisection of ley lines is, especially, and I do a lot because I'm here in Arizona. My research comes from here. We walk into caves and you hear vibration in the mountain, and we're talking about mountains in the desert.
They're humming. Why wouldn't they?
There is a.
I like humming. Why wouldn't the mountains like singing too? It's fun. We like it.
Almost, it does something. It kind of freaks you out because it's like, is this mountain alive? And you're inside of a cave and it's dark and you don't know, but you feel like you've entered a living being. That's what it sounds like. You know what I mean?
We're gonna have to come back and talk about that. Like I love that you start talking about these things right when it's time to go. Fabulous. He's just such a tease. You're such a tease.
Right? That's what
right.
It's about.
It's the cliffhanger. We're from Hollywood. We leave you with cliffhangers.
We got to.
Listen. Thank you so much.
Arizona. Yeah, there you go, ladies and gentlemen.
If I can find somebody to watch my birds that I trust, I'm down. All right, listen. Ladies and gentlemen, Grizzly, thank you for your hosting services and your kindness.
Thanks,
Clive. Thanks for blowing off your distributor. I appreciate it.
Yes, I got called
Yes.
back right now. I said, "Yo, I'm on the
Tell
phone
him,
with
look,
Monday
tell him I
morning."
said hello.
I will. I will.
Tell
for
him my
sure.
little brother paid $1 to see his underwear. Tell him I said that.
I will figure out how we can work this out with SAG and all this stuff so we can get you in these documentaries. I'll
Yeah,
ask
dude.
him to see how we can do it because it's
So
got to be
down.
done.
Come talk to me about my orbs. I will show you my orbs if you show me
Let's
yours.
do it.
Okay, that's
Let's
enough.
do it. Thank you for
Stop it,
having me.
Grizzly. It's not that kind of show. All right, you guys, thank you for spending your linear time with us. I hope you had fun. I sure did. Keep riding the frequency and keep being aware that you're the awareness. See you next week.
Are you ready? Are you ready? Are you ready?
Frequency, frequency, frequency.
I'm Liane. I'm Liane. I'm Liane. Are you ready to ride the frequency? Are you ready to ride the frequency? To ride the frequency?